Hello Stampers, this is Sheila and welcome to my studio. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and my blog is Stamping Wishes. So today I'm going to be showing you how I did this card. One of my fellow demonstrators had asked me that she would like to see how I did the layout of this and combine my colors and the like. So that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so let's get started. I've gone ahead and stamped the fish on an oval, and I used my layering oval framelits, and I used this one. I label mine, this is my B section and this is my A section. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4 and label it 1A, 2A, 3A. So I use the 3A size for cutting out my oval, and I am using shimmery white, one of my favorite of the cardstock, because it shimmers and because you can do a lot of different medias on it and not have or mediums and not have any issues with blending and doing that type of thing. So anyway, I stamped the oval fish, and we're using today the Best Catch. Love the stamp set. And I actually had hesitated on this one with my dad not being around, and he was a big fisherman. I couldn't think of different ways that I would use it because I don't have a dad to, give anything to. But I thought about some of my other projects and, of course, my clubs and stuff. And I thought, yeah, there are some uses for this. Whether you're a fisherman or not, it's a nice masculine set. And then to help with some of the images and stuff, we're going to be using out of here, and I might as well get it out and get it on a stamp. We're going to be using the mountains from there. And let's see if I've got a stamp that's big enough, or we may have to, oh, there's one. Okay. Let's go ahead and get it, and we'll put that on for later. I have all my other stamps already on. Let's go ahead and do it that way. All right, so we're using the waterfront, and then also we're using high tide because I wanted the water marks from this to assemble a river. And so the whole idea behind this is I thought about, he wouldn't be in a ocean of water or anything like that, but he would be in a lake. And that usually I've seen the fly fishermen, they always seem to be in a stream with mountains and beautiful scenery around them. So that was what I was trying to encompass here. And this original design, as far as the layout goes, was from a sketch challenge, and it was to have an ovaling layer and then a strip in this direction, as well as an angled one. But this is my concept of that design. Okay, so then for the outside, we have another piece of shimmering white, and it measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then for the inside, I've got one of my shimmery white pieces that's 3 3/4 by 5 already set up in my stamparatus. We're going to stamp here in a second. And this was another layer I wanted for the inside. And then for one of our strips, which is this one right in this area here, this one measures, let's go ahead and give it to you, 1 3/4, and it's by 4. And then our basic cardstock from behind is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and we're just going to go ahead and fold that over and burnish the edge of it. And this is our Soft Suede cardstock, and this is our crumb cake. So why don't we go ahead and do our inside, since we've already got all that done, and then we'll talk about the technique that I did on the outside of it. So what I did was to set up, I'll get it out, set up on our stamparatus the 3 3/4 by 5 in the shimmery white. And what I wanted to have there is "You're the best catch ever," and then our little hook down at the bottom corner of it. So I'm going to use some black memento and go ahead and stamp those up. And the reason I'm using, obviously, my stamparatus is I want to be sure that I get good, clear stamp images. And if I need to, I can redo it. So we're just going to give that time to transfer our ink over. And since I didn't do an inside yet for my other one, and I do think I'm going to stamp one more time just to give it that vivid, bright, dark black that I like to see. On my other card, I hadn't made my inside yet, so this will be kind of a first as to how we're going to end up coloring this piece for the feathers. And I guess this is a type of a lure. You can tell my dad was a great fisherman, but unfortunately, unless he baited my hook and took the fish off, I didn't ever join in that often. So don't know a lot about the terminology of some of this stuff. All right, so we've got that cleaned off. Let's go ahead and dry them just to kind of get them out of the way. Let's take this out and let's color up the piece real quick. Now, some of the blends, since we'll be doing our fish next too, some of the blends that I used, I'm going to bring them out here, is we use the combos of the Bermuda Bay. We use the combos of the dark and light pink Pirouette. And I'm using the 2 shades of the light smoky slate and the dark smoky slate, and then the light macaroon and the dark mint macaroon. We're going to use those colors there. So I figured we could just go ahead and encompass some of those colors in this as well. So what I'm going to do, I think, is to use some of the light smoky slate. And let me get this up where you can actually see it being stamped, or colored, I'm sorry. Okay, I think we've got a picture there. So let's take this off, and I'm going to go in here as though this is a piece of the metal or the hook showing through, is what I'm envisioning there. Okay, and let's go ahead and go with some of the Bermuda Bay just to give some pretty coloring in on the leaves. And this is the light Bermuda Bay. And I think we'll go to the smaller. Let's go with the lighter. And because I'm envisioning that these may be little spoon type metallic metal pieces that shimmer in the water to catch the fish attention, I'm going to go ahead and use the gray to give that metal effect too. And let's go ahead and use some of our dark Bermuda Bay for the other pieces here. There we go, just something simple to add a little bit of color to. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put that on our crumb cake. Find my piece of crumb cake. I set things off to the side here. Okay, so we're going to layer that for the inside on the crumb cake, like so. So let's go ahead and get us some glue and put that on. And we're going to color the fish real quick, and then we're going to get into the scenery. We'll leave that for last. And through some of it, the coloring and stuff, I may go ahead and go quiet on you so that I can just go through that, since you can see the colors that I'll be using. So let's go ahead, since we don't need any more of that, and put this on the inside. One of my favorite techniques is the shadings and adding scenery behind some of our stamp sets. So I do have a tendency sometimes, like I'm doing today, to use 2 or 3 stamp sets that I have, but I love all of my stamp sets, so I don't want to make them feel like I'm not cherishing them all. So that's why sometimes we do that. Okay, so I'm going to go with the light pink of the pink for the belly area of the fish. And when I finish the fish, even though it's got the shimmery white cardstock, I still come in and use my Winkostella. And when you see the actual card itself, you can see how gorgeous that little bit of glistering that the Winkostella seems to do and help. So we're going to use the darker shade in here to kind of give it that look. Come down its tail here. Okay. And one more time with this, just to blend the 2 colors in. All right. So now I'm going to come with my light, let's go with the light mint macaroon. and we're going to kind of come into these areas, and we're going to bring some darker colors in too, but for right now let's kind of go this direction with some of the lighter shading, and then we'll bring some of the darker shading in. I don't know if you can hear the wind in our windows, but we got another cool front end today, and one of my favorite things is when the wind hits my windows and makes that kind of oohing and wooing sound that a wind will do. I just absolutely love that sound. So that's what they're doing today. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I don't know if you can hear it while I'm filming, probably not as much, but anyway, I just love that. Okay, let's set this aside, and now we're going to, well, no, before we set it aside, I do need to mask it. Before we got started, I went ahead and masked using about this size of a Post-it note, and I stamped the fish, and I'm going to go ahead and put it here because I'm going to do some shading on the fish, or around the fish, to give the illusion of the, since we're going to be cutting the top portion out and leaving just kind of this area here of the oval is what we're going to do. So I'm going to stick more to my shading that is in this area, because all of this is going to be cut out, so I'm not going to mess too much with that. And what I'm going to do is take my Pacific Point. This is one of the colors we're using, and I mentioned this in one of my other videos a couple of months ago. I was watching a lady, and sorry I don't know her name, I just happened to be flipping through and saw this brush technique that she was using with makeup brushes. And so I got me a set. I got them from Amazon. They come in a little nice bag and box, and they're called Start Makers. And you get, let's see, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 different brushes, size brushes with it. And what's nice about these is when you use them, and I love our Stampin' Up! Sponges and our, oh, what do you call them? My mind's kind of gone off glitch here. But anyway, the ones you use on your finger. I use all of those in different techniques and everything. But this I have found to be probably one of my most favorite of the sponging technique. So I'm going to go ahead and bring a scrap in so we don't mess up the background of this one. And we're going to start off with taking one of the brushes. And just like you would do with a sponge dauber, that was the word I was looking for a minute ago. You would do this just like you would with your sponges. You want to go off the side and then bring your color on, so you don't get too much color at any one given point on your fish. And I am going to go a little bit higher just to make sure I have covered plenty of the area around the fish that I may or may not cut out when we go to assemble it. Okay, I think that looks good. And if you'll see how pretty and smooth all of that comes into play here, I just love that effect with it. And so I want to make sure we've got enough here. And then what I'm going to do down below here, because this would be him jumping out of the water, and so I want to show a light of water as well as a little bit of the background of the sky. And to clean these, all you have to do is take a one of these type of rags here and just wipe it off. It does come with a little sponge like this that you can wipe your coloring off on as well. You can use that. And then afterwards I just check it and make sure that there's no color coming out, which there's not, and it's ready for the next color usage. So now we're going to take our water that comes from our high tide, and we're going to again get our Pacific Point out, and we're going to stamp some water lines across the fish while we've got it masked. Okay, so I'm going to go right here below, and this would be our water line. And I'm giving good firm pressure so that ink can go across. And so we got the water line that I'm looking for. So now I can go ahead and remove the masking. And as you can see, the fish looks like it's coming right out of the water. Okay, so we're going to set this aside. We don't need it now. And we're going to go ahead and set this aside until we're ready to use it. And so what we're going to work on now is the sunrise, as well as it's kind of a sunrise around the sun, and then there's a lake of water. So that's what we're going to work on next, and it's very, very easy to do. We're going to do some more masking on it. And so what I want something for our sun, and I don't know if I said sun before or moon. May have been thinking moon, but horizon to start on. And I do like to line this up when I'm using grid paper, and you'll see here in a minute what I'm going to do. But I think last time I brought a little bit more sky into it, and I want to bring a medium portion of this as being the ground into the lake or the river there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our moon down. The next thing I do is I have these large Post-it notes that I get. They come all the way across, and that's why I like to line this up, so that when I lay this across, I have my grid lines to measure each side with and make sure that I get even on there. Okay, and so the first thing we want to do, and I was kind of, as I'm talking, I'm looking for my little mask of my don't know what I did with it now. I'm going to have to make one real quick. But it was my masking for my clouds and stuff. And I usually keep it handy close. Oh, there it is. Close by. So there it is. And let's go ahead and get started with the background. I want it to be yellow for the, and so I'm going to use Pineapple Punch. And I'm working on a fairly large area there, so I'll get one of the larger brushes to cover more areas. And I'm going to turn this sideways, and hopefully I still have everything there. Off to the side again, we want to take the first initial color off so we don't get a blob of color, because we're looking for that soft change in color on our sky as we do this. Okay, so that's enough of that. And I just kind of go back and forth, make sure I get all the color in there that I'm going to use, and clean my brush off, and then test it to make sure there's no color on it. And now I'm going to bring some of the pink in, or the pinkish shade, and I use Calypso Coral for that. And we'll come back to using the pineapple a little bit when we take this masking off. So I'm going to set it to the side since I'll be using it. So we're going to use Calypso Coral, and I'm just going to go with a little bit smaller of a brush, kind of come off to the side, because I'm really in this particular color mode. I don't want it way up into the sky, because again, this is a sunrise, and so we want our deeper color embellishments to be towards the horizon and not right into the sky where the clouds are starting to sheen from behind. Okay, so as you can see, just a little bit of the pinky horizon type colors that you can sometimes see in a sunrise. Kind of going around the sun a little bit to give it a little bit more of that pretty glow. And then we won't be using any more of our Calypso Coral, so we'll set that aside. Then the next color I use is Heather, to give it kind of that grayish, purplish tones that one usually has in a sunrise, and even sometimes in a sunset. Again, I'm cleaning my brush, no color on it. And I usually not an advocate of selling other products and stuff, but if I do find something that is a necessity tool that I use a lot, and this one is, because I love, love, love sponging and blending and making sceneries behind, then I do want to show you what I am using and not make you think I'm using something else that I'm not. Okay, so next we're going to go into, let's clean this off. We're going to take our masking down and kind of change it around to another area so I can get some of the gray tones in there. So let's go ahead and bring this back around, and you can see how our colors kind of came in there nice and soft. And at this point I can go ahead and take this off, and we can go ahead and run our yellow across there, because we're not going to be and we can mask it again once we do that, because we still got the clouds to put in there, which we'll do next. Okay, so we're gonna come across here, and I'm just wanting to put just a little bit of the sun's color in there without it being as bright as the background, just a hint of the sun coming up. And I keep building until I get the color I want. Just a little bit more, and I think we got it. Okay, perfect. Exactly what I wanted. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the sky real quick, and then we'll flip our masking around. And let's go ahead and put this back over just in case I get a little bit careless with my blue. And so we're going to bring out our balmy blue. And yes, I did use a lot of colors on this, but to me, when you're sponging and coloring and doing the type of technique that I'm doing today, you will use a lot of layers of different colors. That's what gives you that glow that sometimes comes from these and the realistic effects that I'm, trying to get and stuff. So we're going to come up here, and what I used on this, I think it was the 2 3/8 scallop punch is what I like to do my clouds with. And I just bring a very soft blue into it, but enough that you can see the outline of the sky. And I'll get a little bit darker if I need to make the clouds distinguishable in my sunrise here, that they're in the background. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it quite as well as I can see it, but there's just that hint of cloud that you would see coming early in the morning when it's still a little almost dusk, but not quite. And you can see those clouds coming in there. It's just a beautiful rendition of the clouds. Okay, and we may do one more over in this area here. Okay, I think we got it. Beautiful. Okay, and I'll bring this up just a little bit closer so hopefully you can kind of see the resemblances of the clouds in through here. All right, so now we're ready to go ahead and mask off. So I'm going to take this off now because we're going to be working below on the ground area. So I'll bring my masking back over here, and I do like to bring it just a tad above the color, not much, but a little bit, because I want those colors to really, really blend and not look like a per se, one color into another. I kind of want them to blend a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and use the same brush, make sure it's clear of color, and it is, and come off over here. fish. So let's go ahead and get that. And I did use the memento, the black memento. And we'll use that again. And I'm going to press and hold to transfer the ink, and hopefully that one ridge there that might separate him, if we have to, we could use the marker on it. We'll see how he comes out. Yep, his face needs a little bit more pressure there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Everything else looks great. All right, that looks good. All right, so I can bring in just a little bit of the color. I don't want to do too much and make it look colored in, so I'll just use a tab of the black. If I can find my black pen now. Here it is. I'm using the black marker, and I'm going to use the very thin end of it because I just want to bring in some of the shadowing that it missed right in this edge here, and bring those two colors in together, because that is a shadow on his hat, so I don't want to take away the shadow effect. And then the same thing over there, so I'm good with that. So let's go ahead and take this off, and we can put this on our card now. All right, this looks good. We'll go ahead and put it on, and then we'll cut out the portion of the fish that we want to, and we assemble it with some of the dimensionals. Okay. And I do like to use my Tumble glue, the liquid glue, because it does give me that extra sliding space when I go to lay something down, because I have a bad habit sometimes of getting a little bit overzealous with laying my card down, and then I have it crooked. So this way I do have that little extra time. Okay, so now what we're going to do, let me get my snips out. We're going to cut, and this I am going to speed up a little bit, so just bear with me and watch where it gets cut at. Oh, let's go ahead and try it. On the other one I didn't go that far, but let's go ahead and do that real quick here. See how it looks. I'm always up for change and a challenge here. So let's see if how it looks there. Oop, there we go. And we're going to bring the fish in here, coming out of the water, and I'm going to blend, because here you can see how we get the three different colors of the blue and layering. And again, that's just nature, how nothing is ever the same color in nature or solid, and this gives us a little bit of that natural look to it. So we're going to put some dimensions on our fish here. And another thing that I probably could have done if I wanted to give the effects of a stream, I could have brought some of my color down and made this more of the ground in here and here, which would show him coming off the banks into the water. So maybe I'll try that with the next one, but on this one I left it the same way I did the original, so I could show you what I did. So then I brought the fish in, and you can bring him down into the, again, where it appears he's coming out of the water, and I'm good with that. So here we are. Here's our card, all finished and ready to hand out to someone. And here's the first one that we did. So again, thank you for stopping by, and I hope you enjoyed this technique and will try it out yourself. Until next time, happy stamping and God bless.